Okay, welcome. We're going to go ahead and start. Looks like people are slowly coming in. So, this is Second Marriage Matters. I am so glad you're here. This is a free class that I offer the third Tuesday of every month, 10 o'clock. Obviously, you know that because you're here. Put it on your calendar at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. I always forget to specify that. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. This class, um, I hope you'll I know you'll find it helpful and in creating the life that you want to have, the marriage, the family that you want to have. I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so I do coach from that perspective. Although whether you are a member of that church or not, I know that all the same principles will apply to you. I just teach with some Christ-like values and that perspective in my life. So just a heads up on that. Also, want you to know that I want you to participate. And this is why I do the format this way, because you are able to ask questions while you are here in this class. So if you will click, if you look at your computer, as I'm looking at mine, if you click on the chat, you could type in a question if you have a question. And I will be monitoring that. And hopefully I notice when you do ask a question. If I don't notice right away, know that I will come back to it. But that's why I love this format, is so that you guys can participate and get your questions asked and answered. Also, I do have a cheat sheet that goes with this class. If you just want to email me, heather@heatherrackham.com, and I will send it to you. My web designer is completing my web page that goes with this particular class with Second Marriage Matters, and you'll be able to go there to find all things, all the past classes, and just link to the downloads. But for now, you got to just email me and I will get it sent to you. So with all of that housekeeping behind us, let's go ahead and get started. I will keep this to about 30 minutes so that you can get back to your regular scheduled life. So I'm calling this class Stop Panicking. You haven't made another mistake. I'm calling it that because panic is a pretty common feeling that many women have felt when in their first marriage, when things were not going the way that they wanted it to. It's a common feeling that women feel once they get divorced, and when they start dating again. Like, panic is still just kind of there. Now, I want you to remember from last month's class that panic never just happens, right? It happens because of a thought. It's not anything outside of you that can create that feeling of panic. That feels so helpless, but it's happening because you have a thought, and you probably don't even recognize, most of the time don't even recognize that it's a result of a thought. You don't even know what the thought is, but you're just really good at feeling it. So panic. Stop panicking. It doesn't mean you've made another mistake. All right, the flip side of panic. Let's think about emotion that we like to feel. So think of a time or something that can really recall the feeling of nostalgia. What is the scent? What is the smell? What is the sight of something that really brings that nostalgic feeling into your life? It's really easy. Our body is really good at recalling those feelings from our past, right? So my grandmother lived in the same home for the first 40 years of my life. So just a few years ago, she moved from that home, and my grandfather and my grandmother had lived in forever. And I was visiting her in her town, and I had gone for a run one morning, and I specifically took a different route so that I did not run by her old home. I wasn't quite sure that I could emotionally see her home and kind of keep myself intact, because there's just so much love there. And I just knew that I would miss, it would just bring up some emotions that I would be sad about. So I didn't pass her home. But on the way back from my run, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to run by Grandma and Grandpa's house. So I ran by that house and I stopped for a second, not for too long, so I didn't look like a crazy creeper, but I stopped and I kind of just took it all in. And all of those emotions came back, like the cozy, comfortable I feel safe here. I have so much fun here. Emotions, thoughts, basically from my youth. I could picture myself standing at the kitchen counter, bickering with my uncle about the apple pie, and this. I could almost smell my grandma's apple pie, and I could feel, her hug around me, and I could picture and visualize myself playing gin with my grandpa, all in a split second, basically. All of those images brought that nostalgic feeling, brought the peace, brought the comfort. Now, of course, those things weren't happening, right? They weren't going on in my life. Those were things from the past. They are not happening again. It's not those things that are creating that feeling of peace and comfort, nostalgia inside of me. It's that I'm thinking about those things, just to prove the point here. It's that our thoughts create our feelings, right? And nostalgia is something we're really good at recalling the past. We're really good at calling up those nostalgic feelings, right? It just feels really good. The same goes with those negative emotions, panic or guilt. I don't know why this is a little bit blurry. I hope it's not blurry on your end, but it is on mine. But panic, guilt, like, it's not happening because of something that your husband has said to you, because it seems so familiar to something maybe that your ex-husband has said. Like, we can start to panic from that. It's not that. It's not something. It's not that you're reliving your past and that past is going to happen again. It's just because your body is really good at recalling that emotion. And so let me ask you, just like your body is really good, like, what is it that you can be around that recalls the nostalgia? What is it that you can be around that can trigger the panic or the fear? And look at it in the exact same way. It's my body's just recalling comfort and peace, or this nostalgic feeling. My body's thinking about something that's recalling this feeling. I'm just thinking about something that's recalling this feeling of panic. Nothing has gone wrong. Okay, nothing has gone wrong. Your body is working exactly the way it's supposed to. We're just really good at feeling them. So the traumatic and the trivial things in our life are the things, or the kind of information that our brain is really good at repressing. It wants to get rid of them. It wants to hide them. But your body remembers how to feel them, right? Your body instantly recalls it, just like the apple pie and, grandma's house. My body knows how to feel when it's there. And you probably really, if you notice, if you think about what emotions are easily triggered for you that you don't like, whether it be panic or fear, you probably never really let yourself process those emotions. And we're going to talk about processing those emotions in just a minute. But we think we have. We think we process them. We think we've moved on. Like, people say, well, I've moved on. And physically, yes, you probably have moved on. Obviously, you got divorced, you dated, you got remarried, right? Physically, you moved on. And probably you have emotionally a little bit as well. But those feelings, that feeling of panic and fear, feel so crummy that we are really good at just hiding them, trying to repress them. Because remember, the traumatic and the trivial, your brain tries to repress. But we don't like to feel those feelings, so we do things not to feel them. We buffer them. I call it buffering. Anything that we do so we don't have to feel an emotion is buffering. So we eat sometimes, like, eating food gives us kind of a dopamine hit. So when we feel something negative, we oftentimes try to eat it away, eat that feeling away, though it doesn't work. We watch TV. We try to live in another life or another world, basically, by watching TV. We don't have to feel our own life if we are watching it elsewhere. Something else that we do that I think is a really interesting thing that I wanted to address quickly is something that's common in our church, is the concept of service and ministering others. We are often taught, when you are feeling bad and your life isn't going the way you want it to, just serve, minister to other people, and you will feel better. And that is true, but I want you to recognize, first of all, why you're feeling better. There's two reasons. Number one, you often feel love when you are serving somebody. So that just does feel good, right? And that is the reason why we serve, because it feels good. But if you're serving so that you don't have to feel your own emotions, so that you don't really process it, then you're using service as a buffer, and you will actually, I call it a damning in disguise action, where when you do something and it seems noble, like to go serve and to go minister, that seems like a noble thing to do, but it's going to damn you right where you are. It's going to stop you right in your tracks of that processing of emotion process. And you won't be able to really move on. And you'll think you've moved on, but you've moved on physically and not necessarily emotionally. So I'm not saying don't minister and don't serve. I'm not saying that at all, because it does feel good. I just want you to pay attention to why you are ministering, why you're serving. Are you doing it so you don't have to feel your emotions? If so, we need to pay attention to those emotions, because really the panic and the fear is just a symptom of something that's going on in your brain, and we can solve for it if you actually take the time to process it. So really pay attention to why you're serving. Keep serving, but also process your emotions. Allow yourself to process at the same time. So only in safety can you move on. And we have to create a safe place for ourselves to move on. And like I said, we all say, well, I did move on. Yes, you did. You got married again, but emotionally, there's a lot of moving on that we can still do. And what happens is when we don't emotionally process something, those triggers become bigger and greater. Like something happens, maybe like I said, your husband could say something that seems reminiscent of something that your ex-husband might have said, and it can all come rushing back because you never really took a look at what that feeling of panic was a clue about, what it was trying to tell you was going on in your brain. Okay? So we've got to really create a safe place for you to move on. And we already covered that topic, actually. So I'm going to move right on here to the guest. So this is my process, my tool that I teach my clients for processing an emotion. So the guest, you could put any emotion in place of the word guest. It could say fear, it could say panic, it could say guilt, but really it's just, they're all guests. And I don't want to call them the unwanted guests, because that immediately think about when someone comes to your door that is an unwanted guest. They're usually the guests that stay longer than you want them to, aren't they? They're the ones that overstay their welcome. I don't know why that is, but we don't want to call it an unwanted guest, because I promise the fear or the panic, whatever that guest is going to stay longer than necessary if you deem it unwanted. So we're just going to keep it as the guest. Now, why, first of all, we're going to talk about why you would want to use this process. A couple reasons, and we've kind of gone through them, but you would use this process because you notice that panic is coming up frequently for you in your life, and for no reason. There's nothing going on that is like a sign that that you should panic about this. Like something's going to happen, like this marriage is going to fail just like my first marriage, and then what am I going to do? Those sorts of thoughts are what are creating the panic. It's not what's happening, it's your thoughts about what's happening that's creating the panic. But not processing it and really understanding that feeling is going to keep them always at bay. So that's why you would use this process, so that you can actually really learn to feel an emotion rather than buffering it away. Buffering it doesn't ever help you get to the bottom of why you're feeling something. And then it keeps coming back because you haven't solved for what's going on in here. You've just hidden it. All right. So the guest, what happens how do you even know that a guest is there? Okay. So the doorbell rings. You have no preconceived notions about who's at your door. You've just heard the doorbell ring. So just as you hear the doorbell ring, the vibration of a doorbell, a feeling is merely a vibration in your body. It's just something that's happening in your body. When the doorbell rings, you don't know who it is. You don't know what they want. You just know that the doorbell has rung. And I want you to do the same thing with an emotion. Recognize it as a vibration. You don't even really have to label it if you don't want to at that point, but it's just a vibration. I'm feeling something in my body. And then don't judge it. You never are, before you've opened the door, you have no judgment about who it is. You're not upset or angry at them. You're not thinking, oh, this person again, because you don't know who it is, right? So when you have judgment about having an emotion, it just compounds the negative feelings because now you feel bad about having that emotion. You feel bad or you feel frustrated that you're still feeling panic when you shouldn't be. So no judgment. Doorbell rings. You don't know who it is. No judgment. Feeling of panic in your body. Be curious, maybe, who is it? Why do I have this feeling? I don't know, but it's okay that I do. It's all part of the process. I'm not upset about it. Okay. So just remain neutral about the feeling. The second thing you do, somebody's rung the doorbell, right? You recognize that there's somebody there. You recognize that you have panic. You get to decide whether or not you're going to invite that guest in. You have to give them permission, right? Now, this is what we often do. We often see the panic or we feel the panic coming on. And so we really, we don't want to give it permission to come in. So we push against the door, right? Like you think about I'm thinking about my little sisters and I when we would push against the door. We didn't want someone to come into our bedroom. One would push from one side and the other's pushing from the other. And you just have this standstill of the door going back and forth. When you feel the panic coming in, you don't want to feel it. So it's like you are pushing against the door so that they can't come in. Like you don't like this unwanted guest. They're trying to come in and you're trying to keep them out, and it becomes a struggle. And you actually get to decide whether you're going to let this guest in. Now, like I said, unwanted guests usually stay much longer than you want them to. My advice is to let the guest in. Decide, oh yeah, this is just panic. Not a big deal. Come on in, panic. Let me get to know you a little bit better. That's what you're going to do. Come on in, panic. Let me get to know you a little bit better. This will also help you see if you have really processed an emotion. If panic is something that's coming up frequently for you, you probably know that you haven't processed it all the way. And also you can recognize it as something that your body's just really good at feeling. So you can be like, oh yeah, this is that emotion that I'm really good at feeling. I'm really good at feeling nostalgic when I smell apple pie. I'm really good at feeling panic when I think that I've made another mistake in my marriage. Okay? But come on in. I'm going to invite you in. You don't want that struggle with the door because it's always a struggle. They'll always be trying to get in and you'll always be trying to keep it out, and you'll never move past it. All right. So invite your guest in and then offer them to take a seat. You want them to sit down and visit with them, get to know them, be curious as to why they're at your house, and let them tell you all their problems. Same with panic. Just sit there and really let panic dish out. Why are you feeling panic? Grab a pen and a paper, write it all down. figure out why you feel panic. Write down all the things why you're feeling panic. Don't try to edit it. Write, the mean and nasty, horrible things, and really let yourself feel it. Something that I have found interesting to do is in trying to feel it, and we think we're feeling it when we scream or we cry, like we'll say, yeah, I'm feeling this emotion, but really that's just a reaction to emotion. That's not really letting it in. That's not really feeling the panic. I want you to really feel it. So writing it all down helps yourself feel it. Another tool that I've kind of discovered, I recognized a while back, I had read a poem about Heavenly Mother, and it kind of created this really intense feeling inside of me. And I thought it was a beautiful, I don't know, it was a beautiful experience for me. So the other day I noticed a feeling coming up for me that I wasn't too sure what it was, or why. I was confused as to why I was feeling it again. It was kind of a triggered emotion, something that I was good at remembering how to feel. And I decided to write a poem, which is so unlike me. The last time I wrote a poem was probably in third grade when I had to write a haiku poem or something. But I thought, I'm going to write a poem. Like, I found it helpful when I read this last time. I'm going to write one now. So I wrote a poem, and when I got done writing the poem, it wasn't anything long, but I really felt like I'd experienced that emotion. I had welcomed it in, and I let myself feel it. There are other things you can do to really feel an emotion rather than trying to keep it out of your house. Um, I don't know, you could sing, you could dance, and really try to express the feeling that you're feeling. And I know that sounds crazy, but let the feeling in, let yourself feel it. And that helps you to keep it in, because remember, not keep it in, but let it be part of you so that you can release it. Because remember, it's the unwanted guests that far outstay their welcome. So let it in. So doorbell rings, no judgment about who's there, no judgment about the feeling. You invite the guest in. Don't try to keep it out. Just welcome the feeling of panic in. Take a seat, have a conversation with panic, and understand why it's there, and really try to feel it. Okay, try to feel that emotion and really be understanding of it. Then another thing, you've decided this guest has been here for a while and you just made some chocolate chip cookies and you'd really like to taste those cookies, but the only way you can experience the taste of those cookies is also to offer some to them. And I want to offer you some cookies here. Um, I like to compare this to offering forgiveness to everybody in the story as to maybe why you're feeling panic. Number one, offer forgiveness to yourself and to anybody else that might be in the story. And why is it like cookies? Because you eat a cookie because of how good it tastes, right? We offer forgiveness because of how good it feels. And it feels good to us, and it feels good like when we think about offering forgiveness to somebody else. Like, they can't feel our forgiveness. Only us can feel our forgiveness. Only we can feel our forgiveness. Only we feel our love for ourselves and other people. So we offer that cookie to them so that we can feel something, so we can feel the goodness of forgiveness. And that really helps us in that process, helps us to feel good. And then the final piece in this tool is to let that feeling stay as long as it needs. Let your guest stay as long as it's as desired. Yes, the unwanted guests always far outstay their welcome, but a wanted guest usually gets a really good dose of love and understanding and recognition, and they don't really need to stay that long because they recognize that they're not unwanted. They feel good because they're loved, talking about guests. But your brain just really needs to acknowledge, you just really need to acknowledge that your body is feeling that way. That's all. Your body just wants you to recognize, hey, there's this feeling. You're really good at feeling it. And if you try to rush it away, you don't let it stay as long as it needs to, it will keep coming back at a vengeance. It'll be that guest that is constantly knocking at your door and wanting you to let them in. And then you're constantly doing the struggle, but them trying to open it, you trying to keep it closed. And you really have to take your time with these feelings. Time heals. Healing is a journey and it's going to take time. Those emotions that are triggered do not have to stay with you forever. You get to decide when that emotion, after you have really processed an emotion and you've recognized why you are experiencing that emotion, you recognize why you're experiencing panic. It has nothing to do with the situation. You're just remembering something from the past. And so it seems like a good idea to panic. And then you start to notice all the other reasons why you should panic, because your body wants to keep feeling that emotion that it's so good at feeling. Process it, and it will help you release those emotions. It helps you to feel better. But you've got to let it be a guest in order for you to get to that point. Okay? So let it linger as long as it needs to. I know that this process works. I know that quickly, trying to just move on and not really deal with something will keep it always at bay. You're always going to be recalling it. You're always going to feel the panic. And then you're always going to think that something has gone wrong and that you should continue to panic. And you'll never be able to find the true peace that you're after unless you can figure out why it is you're panicking. And like I said, the panic is just a symptom. It's just a clue as to what's going on in your head. And we will cover like how to start changing what's going on inside of your head. But for now, I just want you to be aware. Awareness is huge. Be aware of who is standing at your door. Be aware of who the guest is and be curious. And once you're just aware, once you're curious as to why you're there, you follow this process, you will really gain an understanding of that emotion and you're going to be able to slowly start to let it go. Okay, if you want help with anything I talked about today, send me an email. I didn't see anybody post any questions, so get a little bit more talkative next time. Ask me some questions. And know that I am starting a second marriage master's program. It's not a master's program like as in an MBA, but I just call it Second Marriage Masters. It's a program I'm going to offer 2 times a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. And it's a 3-month program that I am going to do as a group coaching program, which I've never done before. So in April, I am going to do a condensed 2-month kind of pre-launch program so that I can do it for the first time, and it will be not necessarily a beta group, but just like the pre-launch to get it all out there. You're going to get all the same things that my 3-month program will get. It will just be a little bit more condensed so that we can work all of the things out. There might just be a few glitches that I still need to work out. And so I am looking for people that are wanting to be part of that pre-launch group. It's going to start in April. It will go the month of April and May, and it's going to be amazing. It will basically help you figure out how to create exactly what you want to create. We're going to create a roadmap for your family, your future family, this big community that you basically have created. And I think of us, the second marriage, it just becomes a big blended family. It's a big community, and there's lots of people to work with within that family unit. And I'm going to help you figure all of that out, how to navigate the stepchildren, the ex-husband, the ex-husband's new wife, and the in-laws, and finances, and your sexual relationship, all of those things we're going to go through in Second Marriage Matters. This is Second Marriage Matters in Second Marriage Masters. So be looking for the information on that. And if you want more information, send me an email, heather@heatherrackham.com. And I can't wait to hear from you. Thanks for being here today. Let the guests in. Let all the emotions in and stop panicking. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.